Hello, and welcome to the LGBTQ Hour. Here today, we have our initial show is really about today is really going to be the premise of the show would be of all showing the relevance and the importance of the LGBT community throughout Miami-Dade County, and showing our worth in this community. And today we are blessed and fortunate to have us a distinct figure of our community, Councilman from the city of North Miami, Scott Galvin from District 1. Scott, welcome. Thank you for being here and being our initial show, and congratulations on your successful career.
Thank you.
So thank you for being here. Welcome.
My pleasure. Distinct privilege to be with you. Thank you for having me.
May 11th is a big day for you. Today's May 9th.
Yeah.
So we're 2 days ahead of your big day.
Yeah.
What happens on May 11th?
May 11th marks the 25th anniversary of when I got elected to the North Miami City Council. So I first got elected in 1999, now
Awesome.
25 years ago.
Congratulations.
And thank you very much. I have survived so far, knock on wood. And, it's just sort of, not many people get to serve, period, let alone serve for a quarter of a century. So I've had a lot of adventures, and I've got a lot of stories to tell, and I'm looking forward to my remaining 6 months in office. I finally will term out in November of this year.
And one of the important things I wanted to do is have you as the first guest, because I wanted to have you on before this whole 6 months journey started, and
Right.
and you were going to be so busy that you couldn't set a time. So I said he has to be the first guest because he has so many stories to say. So
Thanks.
where do you want to begin? What do you want to say to us? What is your biggest legacy as a commissioner, as an elected official, LGBTQ?
Well, so North Miami, where I serve,
Okay,
is not a gay community.
correct.
It's not Wilton Manors. There's not a gayborhood. So even though I'm LGBTQ, I'm not in a neighborhood that does a lot in those circles. The Haitian American community is the vast majority of our populace. The other 4 of 5 members on the city council with me are all Haitian American. Our city manager Haitian American, our city attorney Haitian American. So I guess in saying that, I think it's great to underline that there are bridges to be made with communities that most don't think of. If I were in Wilton Manors, it would have been a lot easier to stick around for 25 years. But there are people who are friendly, who are allies, who are with us, who are not the traditional communities that normally come to mind. And I think the LGBT community needs to be mindful of that as we continue to try to build bridges toward the future. We need to be there for them on their issues, and they'll be there for us on ours.
So you've had their support obviously throughout this time.
Yeah.
What made you decide to run for the city of North Miami?
So I first ran for the city council in 1989 when I was 20 years old, and I was just a smart aleck, thought I knew it all, was going to change the world kind of kid. I ran for office and I lost. I did get 40% of the vote though. And most people, so running for office is very, very personal. It's not like team sports. If the Dolphins lose next Tuesday, so to speak, the headline is, and of course I know Dolphins don't play on Tuesdays, season ticket holder since 1991. But if the Dolphins lose, the headline is Dolphins lose, not Tua loses, so to speak. But when you run for office, it's your name on the ballot. People are voting for or against you. Most people who run and lose disappear. You don't see them again. Some come back, but most, if you look at municipal races everywhere, they're one and done if they don't win. I was maybe too young and too stupid to know that's what normally happens. Instead of losing and going away, I lost and got even more involved than I was before, and volunteered on this campaign and joined the Chamber of Commerce and joined my homeowners association. So I was this 20-year-old dynamo, and realized I had to pay some dues before I could get elected 10 years after that.
So how did you build that consensus?
I worked really hard.
Okay.
It's part of why I'm looking forward to my term in office finally coming to an end, because I'll regain the ability to go to movies, to read a book, to go on vacation. These are things I haven't done for 25 years. It's an investment of time, going to meetings. If you're doing it right, you can't just go to a meeting and then wait till the next meeting. There's work to be done on whatever. I became president of my homeowners association when I was like 21. Right. But I didn't own a home. I still lived with my mom and dad. But they were glad to see somebody young and enthusiastic and willing to work hard. I just gave of my time in 100 different ways, all the while building a resume.
And what was it really that was motivating you to pursue that dream? Or
in high school, it certainly wasn't a dream. I mean, I was not a good student. I have multiple juvenile arrests. I was a bad kid. Had one teacher who made a difference. We could go into that story sometime if you want to. But I was just, I don't know. I was motivated. My ego was involved. Thinking I could do better than others was there.
Were you rebelling as a younger, as an LGBTQ, or you weren't out then, or was it that part of the equation?
Okay, so I first ran in 1989. I said that. And I had no idea what I was doing. Somebody said, well, you're a Democrat. You should go to a Democratic Party meeting. So I went to a Democratic Party meeting, and this one dude just was like, wow, you are fantastic. Let me donate, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't know, and for those of you who might remember, Jack Campbell owned a lot of the gay bathhouses in South Florida at the time. His name showed up on my finance report, so everybody was talking about how I was gay. Now, I wasn't out. Okay. You know what I mean? I hadn't dated. I didn't even know anybody else who was gay until I was in college. Of course I did, but in high school, nobody was out in the 80s. No, that was not a thing.
We weren't. Yeah. Even though we knew, we weren't out yet.
Right. And the ways to meet other people, now you go online or there's apps. Then you went to Tropical Park in the middle of the night. You know what I mean?
Sure do. I remember.
Right. And those were things that weren't on my radar as a 16-year-old North Miami kid.
I was Westchester, so Tropical Park was closed.
See, so yeah, there was no such thing. I didn't even learn of that until well after the fact. So I was out without being stated out. At the age of 20, I was being talked about in negative ways. I mean, they used it against me when I was 20. They used it against me when I was 30. I've been called groomer and child molester and every other negative thing under the sun so often that I'm like, whatever. Because at political time, at election time, that's what they do, is they run you through the mud. So I wasn't out as a 20-year-old, although everybody had already figured it out by that point, because this one guy who was willing to help finance my campaign was very out and owned lots of bathhouses. So,
okay, I want to go back to the groomer and the name calling, because even today those names are being used and continue to be, and that's something that I continue to experience myself. Right. With the role that I play, so I still have difficulty sometimes. How have you managed to let it not bother you?
You develop super thick skin. I mean, I'm called all sorts of things beyond that. Nasty names. People write nasty stuff about my mom on the internet. At my dad's funeral, in front of the open coffin, somebody was giving me grief about their alleyway. You learn to just let it roll right off of you, because otherwise you will suffer under the weight. And
for me, it's been difficult so much recently because it's recent, and it's not people that don't know you. It's a lot of it comes from people that know you.
Think they know you. Oh, well, you're saying that people who actually know you say that stuff.
Yes, nowadays they can and they have. And
right.
So, we're still experiencing, hate amongst, some folks' family and some friends, and we still experience that today. So it's like, those are still things that we're still needing to struggle with and fight, and the fight continues.
Right. What Taylor Swift said, haters gonna hate. They're always gonna try to hang something around your neck, and if they can't find something that's real, then let's just make up stuff.
And that's what they have. And
that's what they do. And then like I say, I learned that real early. As a 20-year-old, I wasn't going to gay bathhouses. I didn't even know what a gay bathhouse was. But I was being accused of it because obviously that's why this guy was giving money to my campaign. You know what I mean? Like, I learned real quick, politics is a rough game. So, but
it was still motivating enough to keep you going 10 years later, and then and then finally got elected, right?
I like I say, I've got thick skin and a good sense of humor, and I don't take things seriously that are said negatively about me, and I don't take things seriously that are said positively about me. I don't celebrate. I don't, I had one victory. I've won 6 consecutive elections in North Miami. I had one victory party the very first time I got elected. Normally, I win, and I go right back to business the next morning. And there you go.
So your honeymoon period is short then?
Yeah. I just don't celebrate. I don't even celebrate my own birthday.
Will you be celebrating your exit?
No. I've already said, please, no parties. There'll be a speech somewhere in there because there's traditionally a speech from the outgoing electeds and the incoming electeds. So there'll be a speech, but it won't be long. I'm
glad I got you here today. Then.
Thanks. Yeah. No. I've been very blessed. Not many people get to have the experiences that I've had over the last 25, 35 years. The people that I've met, the things that I've seen.
Tell us about that, what you've seen. Tell us about what you see now, what you saw when you first got elected, what you're seeing now, what you're leaving, what worries you, what you're leaving.
Well, give me a little bit more lead, like in what respect? In LGBT?
In LGBTQ, let's focus LGBTQ. What did you experience then that you're not experiencing today, but what is it, something that you may have experienced both times?
Right. So there still are not many LGBTQ elected officials in Dade County. I think there are now 6 because in Surfside, an election they recently had, a gay male and a lesbian got elected. She's the first lesbian. Wow. It's stunning to me that you can count a major metropolitan area of 2 million people or more. Wow. You can count on one hand the number of queer elected officials we have.
That's a calling.
It's just, you just go up to Broward County. The whole Wilton Manors Commission is gay. Then you go up to places like New York or go out to Los Angeles. They've got dozens of them here and there. Dade County, it's still super unique to have queer elected officials and queer legislators. So we need to do more in pushing young people to run. And I was with somebody last night who said, yeah, I'm going to run, but after I finish, and I said, no. You'll always have an excuse, right? After I finish law school, after I get a job, after I have a kid, run now. I always say to young people, I want to see queer candidates running like ants coming out of an anthill, just all directions, all at once, because if you don't start running now, there'll always be some perceived impediment in your life as to why you don't do it. And if nobody does it, you get to the point where it's me, Chevron Jones, and a couple of others.
Alex
Fernandez, right.
Damian Pardo.
Damian Pardo now, yes. And God bless Damian. Wow, I was just so happy for him.
That was a David and Goliath thing,
And he works so hard and cares so hard, and he has for so long. George Marsuli, who just passed.
Yes, as we honor.
Right. These are sort of like the early champions of the queer community in Dade. And I was so glad to see him attain his seat. And, he's a hustler. He's working hard.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
So what else would you like to see, or what is it that you didn't see then that you see now that inspires you?
Right. Oh, again, it's the bridge building.
Okay.
Again, my fellow elected officials, I keep coming back to Wilton Manors because everybody knows the community, et cetera. It's so easy for them to be queer in what they do. I mean, I've seen their city commissioners running around shirtless at events and things like that. And I'm like, you'd never get away with that in a more conservative community. And I think it's important that the gay community recognize that there are friends in more socially conservative neighborhoods or ethnically diverse neighborhoods. Not everybody has to be a white gay male over the age of 50 to support a gay candidate. There are a lot of people who are maybe not always thrilled with our issues and objectives, but that's okay. They're willing to accept you if they know you're a hard worker, or they know that you have their values in mind too. I often say I'm better known in the immigration communities of South Florida than I am in the gay communities, because North Miami, the Haitian American experience has always been so critical to, our community. And I'll go to immigration rallies and look around, and there are no LGBT groups represented. They don't come. But of course, when Don't Say Gay gets passed, they want everybody to rally to our.
For us to get support, we have to show support.
We have to show support. We need to go. We need to be involved. We need to volunteer. We need to be more in tune with things other than RuPaul's Drag Race. The gay community is a little too myopic for my liking, but hopefully that will change.
How do you find that Scott changed or evolved during these last 25 years being elected?
I'm a lot more patient. I recognize my own mortality. I'm the old man on the city council, and we've had our share of, controversy of late. And I see people are like, why aren't you screaming more? This is wrong. You should be. And I said, yeah, the 35-year-old Scott did that. 55-year-old Scott is trying to show everybody around me that there is a path forward that doesn't involve bloodletting and firing people and, getting revenge. I'm much more chill than I was when I first got elected.
So you're more balanced and
yeah, I'm more mature, and I mean
course.
it comes easy to say that when you've been around, but I've seen so much of what happens. I've seen it before. It always plays out about the same way, and I want for my fellow elected officials that I serve with right now, in the last 6 months I'm in office, I want them to all be rock stars. I want them to all be superstars, and I've said it to all of them in public several times. Your successes are our city's successes, and in the end, that's what I'm wanting, is the city of North Miami to be prosperous.
So that's your succession planning. You're inspiring your own fellow colleagues today to leave a legacy, because that's who they are, right?
Right. I yes.
Now, many in the community say that we're going backwards. We've been attacked. We've been suffering a lot of laws affecting a lot of community members, especially the trans community.
Right.
What are your thoughts? What are your ideas? What is your perspective on these laws and what's been happening?
Awful laws. We did go back 50 years. I mean, I was a kid when Anita Bryant was running around the churches, and Anita Bryant used to live in the city of North Miami. I have firsthand mental snapshots when I was a 10-year-old kid or something like that, and seeing her out in the backyard with her orange tree. We reverted back to that time, and it's not going to change anytime soon. We as a community, and I don't mean this just for the gay community, we as a society expect quick resolutions to our problems. We like to sit down and watch a television show where the crime is committed, investigated, and solved all within 60 minutes. Real life is not like that. And so these laws that have been enacted aren't changing anytime soon. Yeah, you might get a court victory here or a court victory there. But the state of Florida is so gerrymandered conservatively that these things that have been passed in Tallahassee, for instance, aren't changing probably while I'm still alive. They're not changing for another 20, 25 years. So we need folks to be active. And that breaks my heart when people say, well, I'm just going to move out of the state. Or with the thought to them of Trump getting reelected again, leaving the country. You know what? That's what they want. They want us to surrender. They want us to run away with our tail between our legs. They're having victories every time you say something like, oh, I just don't want to. You know what? It stinks that we have to fight these fights again. But guess what, kids? Put on your big boy pants, put on your high heels, and get out on the street and march and work and get involved in your local community. Like I said, run for office, become a judge, all of these different things. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and too often we're happier to be having cocktails at Hunter's than we are sitting in City Hall.
It is. You hit it on the nail on the head, because sometimes we'd rather be somewhere else having a good time and
Right.
complaining about it and,
Right.
and not doing anything. So you're very inspiring and pushing that agenda forward,
Thanks.
For that work. You continue to address the building of consensus. Expand a little bit how you would like to wish you could have expanded a little bit more, built further bridges.
How I could have personally and during my time in office.
Yes.
I was very North Miami centric in all that I did. So there are meetings of elected officials in different cities, conventions, traveling, dinners, stuff like that I didn't do because it wasn't really what I was into. So I guess if I were to go back, I would try to network with the other elected leaders across the area a little bit better so that I could maybe affect change in their city somehow. And I don't have anything in mind right now how that would have happened, but I could have networked better, expanded my Rolodex of leaders outside of North Miami Beach, kind of that north end. Not that I don't still know people here and there, but I didn't, I didn't do a good enough job probably of getting them all to the table on queer issues. And
congratulations on your community center being named after you. The city of North Miami gave that in 2022, and that was a big thing. Every time I pass by, I always say, oh, look at the Scott Galvin Community Center. That's a great legacy that you leave behind. It's,
thank you.
What else are you leaving behind as a legacy?
Working hard. 25 years of city commission meetings, and we have a CRA, which is a sub city council. I've never missed a meeting. I had a major heart surgery 5 years ago. I got out of the hospital, and like 4 days later, I was at a meeting. I could barely speak. My dad died on a Sunday night. On Tuesday night, I was at the city commission meeting. I don't miss meetings. Also, I answer every phone call, every email, and that's one of the interesting things that's changed over the 25 years. But everybody who reaches out to me, I personally help them with their problem. I worked for Congresswoman Carrie Meek in the 1990s, and one of the things she impressed upon me super early, and I was like 24, 25 years old, was, Scott, in this office, you're going to see famous people walk through the door, and I did. I drove motorcade for President Clinton. You're going to see big name lobbyists. You're going to see fancy people. Scott, I don't want you to pay any of them any attention. When Miss Jones calls in about her Social Security problem or her cracked sidewalk or whatever that thing, that might not seem like it's that big of an issue, but to that person, it's the biggest issue. And the way that she said she continued to get reelected was by addressing her constituents' concerns. I took that to heart. Yeah. And so that's where the bulk of my efforts have been over the last 25 years. Okay, so I wasn't out networking and I wasn't hanging out with the other elected officials and rubbing shoulders.
But you were doing the work that you were elected to do.
And that was the secret to me continuously getting reelected and reelected by large numbers. You know, it's work. It's not glamorous. You know, I'm not hanging out at the F1, you know, auto races and stuff like that, but
paying $350 for a taco,
right? Exactly.
$350,
$200 for chicken wings,
yes,
or something like that. Yeah, and I hope those are some good chicken wings. But yeah, you know, I was doing the grunt work. I've always been a grunt worker, even professionally. Now I'm a grunt worker. I'm not a peacock, as one of my friends says. I'm one of the people that's willing to get my hands dirty, even now to this day. 25 years in office, building named after me, would be real easy to just be like, oh yeah, peace out, guys. I can just sit back. I'm working as hard as I ever have and will continue until I'm across that finish line.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Last but not least, what are you going to be doing now that you're not going to be working? Are you going to be focusing on Scott? Are you going to be, you know, well, tell us a little bit.
I have a full-time job. I'm the executive director of Safe Schools South Florida, an LGBT youth nonprofit. The entirety of my 25 years, I've had essentially 2 full-time jobs. That's why I've not been able to go on vacations. And that's why God, if I've read 3 books, I'll round it up. And if I've read 3 books in the last 25 years, I used to read so much. I just don't have that time. I still will have a full-time job and everything that comes with it. But that's going to be a vacation to me, almost. Oh, yeah. Only having to work 1 full-time job. That first 6 months after I'm out of office, I've said to my partner, I think it's going to be like somebody died, because there's going to be this void. I don't have to go to all these meetings. There aren't people showing up at my front door to give me grief over whatever. I'm going to reclaim my time. And, you know, I'll still have to work. I still have to pay the bills. But there'll be a little bit more freedom, personally, that comes with it.
Awesome. Congratulations. Yeah. Thank you so much. And last but not least, what do you hope for the future? What is your biggest...
For the queer community, it's that there be more representation, that there be more trans people run for office, that there be younger people who run for office, that there be people of color who run for office. And hey, I'll even take some white guys running for office, because there are so few queer elected officials at every level. There are still, look, Damian Pardo got elected, 6 months or so ago. He was the first in the city of Miami.
Incredible.
The first. Here we are in the year 2024.
And the city of Miami.
In the city of Miami. He was the first in the city of Miami. I was the first, certainly in North Miami. I might have been the first in South Florida. It's hard, you know, from a legislative perspective. There aren't any others I've been able to, because I'm a student of history too. So I love it. And I've done my homework trying to figure out, okay, who was the first? Scott Galvin in 1999, you wouldn't thought would be the first, although it's quite likely that I was. You would have thought there would have been somebody in the 60s or 70s. You go across South Florida, there still are, you know, Sweetwater, Doral, Hialeah. They've never had openly gay elected officials. We've still, you know, never had an openly gay member of Congress from South Florida. So there's still so many elected official barriers to break, that I'm hopeful that more people get involved and decide to throw their hat in the ring.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time and your effort to being here, and for your 25 years.
Thank you.
And really more, plus, so 35 years, but thank you so much. That concludes our show for this portion. Thank you so much. We hope that we continue to bring about the relevance of our community, and like I said, showing our worth and claiming our worth always. So thank you so much. I appreciate